Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 34 of the Road to 2K on chess.com. We're currently sitting at 1836, and our opponent today is an 1831 from Kosovo. I've actually never seen that flag on chess.com before, so that's pretty cool. But we're going to go ahead, we'll play e4 to get us started here. Our opponent plays e5, and as I'm sure y'all can start to expect, we're going to play the Vienna game. Now, in these positions, I believe the best move is to play bishop c4 right away. We don't often see like this Philidor style defense, so it does leave me less inclined to. It's a little bit more passive in this dark square bishop stinks. So I'm thinking we play d3 here, solidify our pawn chain, and potentially ideas like f4 straight away, because now the dark square bishop can't come here and create this threat with knight to g4. So without thinking too much, let's go ahead. Let's bring this pawn out. We will take back, and our opponent plays c6. And it's probably a dual threat move where there's going to be ideas like queen to b6, and there's also going to be ideas like immediately pushing d5. So in this position, what I'm kind of thinking about is just playing knight to f3. And I do want to be mindful of this pawn, but maybe we start by playing bishop back to b3 to defend that. And then if d5, I don't know what we do yet. Do I care about this tempo? I do, because I don't want him to come in and take this. So let's play bishop b3 a little bit preemptively. We'll play knight to f3. Knight b to d7. The position is just so passive for my opponent. But I'm going to castle. I have the open f file. The knight comes in. If my opponent wants to take the bishop, I think I'm fine with them doing so. I am tempted to blast open the center with e5. Takes, probably bishop takes. So let's do just that. If they want to snap it off, we'll take back with the a-pawn taking towards the center. And our opponent brings the knight to h5. So with the knight coming to h5, my first thought is taking here. And if knight takes, we take here. And we're up a pawn. But this knight's on a good square, but it doesn't really have a ton of prospects yet. Obviously, if bishop takes, we take back and the queen comes in. Then we might have like knight to e4. But knight to e4 leaves us with an isolated pawn. We could play bishop e3. And we're not hanging this pawn yet, so I think we'll drop back, put the bishop on a good square, defend this dark square diagonal. Our opponent takes, we'll take it back, and if pawn takes, we'll take here, and our opponent pushes through. So the threat is very clearly to fork these two pieces. I think here, because I don't want to give them too much, is what do we do with this bishop? Or this knight's not doing a ton, so maybe we play knight to e2 and bring it back. I don't hate that idea. So we'll play knight to e2. I am realizing the fork wasn't a true threat, which is a little annoying. Bishop comes in. I think we're just going to bring... If our knight out, this bishop comes in, takes with check. But we have, do we have this? So knight f4, bishop here. Not a great position. We could take the time now. Let's play Is A3 a horrible move? Or H3? Let's play H3. Do you want to take for this knight? I don't think it's a great move for him. Okay. Taking back with the rook feels like the principled move. And our opponent opts to do that. Is the knight... The knight's almost trapped. So what if we play like bishop to E3? Rook here. Let's play a bishop H6. Try and make it a little bit uncomfortable for our opponent. I think here we probably play queen over to F1. And we're piling some pressure here. And I think our opponent's a little bit on the back foot. They don't have either push. That doesn't do anything. That just hangs a pawn. And after bishop, well, bishop here. Oh, I guess it does. Well, bishop takes, queen takes. That would have been pretty silly to miss. So let's take. We win this pawn. But we drop this one. Or there's this check to pick up the pawn. Is it worth the time to go for it? Or what if we play like here? Maybe D4 to solidify the pawn. This is kind of weak. This is fortunately defended in the present moment. We still have pressure here. And the opponent brings their rook back. Maybe queen up. Because there is no dark square bishop to punish here. We'll play our other rook over. That's an interesting move. I don't know if I agree with it, but we'll play rook F1. We have 3 pieces pointing down at this. And are we able to just push this away? I think we can, so we'll play G4. If he realizes that this knight is not actually hanging, that's fortunate for him. But our opponent misses it, so let's take. And it feels like a pretty nice position for us. If anything else, we may have to look at taking first. I mean, that's a forced win of a piece. So we're just going to go ahead and plow it. And we are down about half the time, but we have a very comfortable position. It's mate in 2. And what I'm seeing here is if rook takes, queen takes, king over, rook here, and the queen blocks this final square. So all the squares are covered. And today's game, it does feel like we just kind of glided to a victory, which is pretty nice. I feel like we haven't had as many of these like super smooth victories. Now, if our opponent does go here, queen check, king over. Our opponent obliges. This is mate on the next move. So, GG's to our opponent. We move up to 1844. We're really getting close to that 1850 mark, which will be so nice to have again. So let's look at the game review. So in today's game, we played with a 92.6, and our opponent played with a 71.6. So definitely one of our top games so far. After e4, e5, knight c3, d6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, we found the right idea, playing some book moves, defending our diagonal. Now, bishop e7. Now, the other move I was considering here is maybe knight g to e2, just because it does promote this f4 push. But f4 was correct. E takes, bishop takes, c6, and bishop back. Now, the engine doesn't hate our move back. It does prefer for us just develop. And I was curious, if we do see d5, then, yeah, we just play bishop to b3, and we're completely fine here. But instead, we played the prophylactic move, then we played knight f3 and castles, which was wrong. And something that I do need to keep in mind in these positions is that every once in a while, you're going to have d4 as an option to take the full center. The important part does become making sure that we don't lose these center pawns, but that's something that we can keep in mind for future games. So after castles, knight in, e5, breaking in the center was slightly wrong. It actually says that it's 0.46 for black. Instead, it wants us to just drop the knight back and do that rerouting idea that we talked about earlier. But knight h5, bishop e3 was wrong. It does like this sequence where you take and you end up in this position here. And its second best move is queen e1 to offer the trade, and I don't know if I ever take the trade there, but alas, Stockfish is much better than I am, clearly. But we opted to come back, keep our bishops on. Our opponent takes, we take, and after d5, we don't see that this pawn is hanging in the corner. Instead, we bring our knight back to reroute to the king side, where we think it's going to be a little bit more active. Now, this just feels a little pawn grabby to me. I mean, it's definitely fine to take, but after here, I worry about moves like b6, because then you have to save this piece. And the engine just says, you play knight a4. If they push you away, I'm sure you go right back, and then you're able to escape. But we ended up going for the line where we brought our knight back, bishop out, h3 was correct. They take, rook takes, g6, and bishop to h6, really just cutting off some squares for the king. Now rook e8, queen in, bishop f5. We almost missed that our bishop was hanging, which would have been a really unfortunate way to lose today's game. But we did take it off. Opponent takes. We played d4 to defend the pawn, and I think this was probably one of our big things or big ideas in the game. The other move we were considering for a while there was just immediately taking, which I think is probably going to be, yeah, we lose the entire advantage after queen to e3, king over, and then that actually loses a knight, so you have to play king up, I'm sure. What do you play? Oh, you block. Gross. I don't know if I found that. Yeah, so we got bailed out a little bit. d4, rook f8, queen f2, with the idea of rook f1, and we have a 1.5 advantage here. Knight comes in. g4 was wrong, but our opponent did not have to move this knight because the queen is pinning the pawn to the king. Our opponent misses that. We snap off the pawn, and for some reason our opponent plays h5. I think here you do have to take. The king is going to slide over here, and then the engine's screaming for knight f4. I think here I definitely just play queen f6, force the queens off, get this passed pawn, and then we're going to bring the knight into the position after that. But our opponent neglected to take it, so we take with the rook. The move here is definitely going to be king to h7, because after a queen check, you have to be super careful because the king is going to run to this square, and there's no clear follow-up besides taking this rook. And you have to defend. Queen's going to come in. I am almost positive queen back is fine. Yeah. But our opponent ignores all that. They take back, and it's mate in two. Like we were talking about, the queen covers this final square. It covers these, and the rook comes in to deliver the final blow on the king. So we moved to, like I said, we moved to 1844. I appreciate all the feedback on these videos, and if you have further feedback for me or just want to let me know what you think of the series, definitely leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to both the channel and the video. It helps me to continue to make this content, as well as knowing that you guys are enjoying what I'm putting out. So I will see you guys on the next day.